It's the CAF Total Champions League preliminaries. It's Tusker FC of Kenya versus...
Before he gets down into worse problems than he has at the moment.
Very true, because sorry.
When you're a superstar.
On Matters Sports, but we are now into the second part of it. We want to talk about something that has been at the heart of Kenyans. Again, you can interact with us. I am at Bernard_sports.
Bernard Otieno's life story is one where even though all odds are stacked against you, there will always be a moment for anyone to break through. Bernard, now a university lecturer and part-time sports presenter, walks us through the journey of his life.
I was born and bred in what we call them tars in the estates. I grew up in Botella. My father used to work for Posta, and I grew up in that Posta flats on Jogoo Road. Went to St. Paul's Primary School, Aquinas High School, which those are just next to each other. Yeah, I was an altar boy in church there at Our Lady of Visitation, where I was baptized, where I was confirmed. I am a confirmed Catholic, so I am a practicing Catholic. So that's where I grew up. Went to my A-levels and went to university, but I got interested in sports in those early days when I used to listen to commentators from what was called Football Made in Germany. My curiosity was aroused in how much the commentators had information of players. I just wondered, how do they get all this information about all these players, you know? They talked about the players and their girlfriends, their passports, where they live, how much they earn. And I was wondering, how did they get all this information about sports? So I got interested in doing sports commentary. At that time, I was actually doing drama on KBC. You know, I'm glad you never watched me on television on KBC, because I was an actor and a famous one at that. But I'm glad you never saw. Maybe your uncles or your father saw me at that time. So there was one producer who was looking for a commentator because he had just been assigned a job to do sports, and he didn't know who he was going to use. And he just asked me, because we used to talk and all that, he just said, why don't you come and try and do commentary? So one weekend we went out to do sports, and I did the commentary for various sports because I understood out of interest different sports and their rules and everything. So I just did one, and he told me, that's it, you'll be doing it every day. And it ended like that. So from then I did commentaries at KBC. When I went to the Nation, I was a radio presenter, and I was doing international commentaries for the World Championships, for the World Athletics Championships, for the World Cup, for the Africa Athletics Championships. It has just never stopped. Yeah. I had two brothers, older brothers, who played football. And like I told you, in the estates, you had to play football. You had to. There's no question about it. In my school at Aquinas High School, we had interclasses. You had to play. And also we had the school team. You had to play. That school team turned into an estate team as well. You had to play. I was one of the tiniest, one of the youngest. My nickname was Striker that time because I was a striker, but I was very tiny. My brother used to tell me, you're a softie, you know, you're a person who just likes to go for drama and poetry and all that. You can't play football. So I had to play football. So I played for the estate team. So all these tournaments, you hear the Kothbiros and all these, I played in those tournaments as a very, very, very young guy. And I also played basketball for my team at Aquinas and also for my high school team. And still I was very tiny, you know, and the experience was not very nice because everybody just wants to push you out of the way. You know, what you must understand is in my life, I've always had to find ways of getting there because everybody thinks they should stop you. And this is something that has happened to me even in my later life where people think they should put you on the side. And I always have had to navigate. So because of the fact that I was tiny, I've always had to find ways of getting myself to the front. So that's why I got a loud voice. That's why I got a big brain. That's why I had to get a lot of information, because that's the only way you get ahead of the pack. Otherwise, there's lots of people who are trying to block you behind because they have physical strength. You know, they have that kind of strength that you don't have. So the only one you have is mental strength, and the only other power you have is academic power. You know, because that's the one they can't stop you on. I mean, physical power, they can use it. Financial power, they can use to stop you. But academic power, they cannot use to stop you because then you're beating them at it. So those are some of the things that challenge me to go, you know, slightly farther than where any other ordinary person would be. No. In terms of my job, no, they're both priority. There's none that is more priority than the other. It's just the fact that you are required to do it. That's the one that puts pressure on me, that there's demand for me for both, you know. So when that comes, I have to find the best way to be able to do it. I really like to give my students the whole of my time, and to make sure that they satisfy the number of hours that they are required to satisfy for their graduation, and that they each get the best of my attention. The job also requires the same attention, so I give it the time that it's required, the time that it's allocated. Like now I'm with you here for this interview, but you probably don't know that I haven't slept a wink because I was working until very late at night, because I have a show that runs on a local station very late at night. But because I'd already committed to this as well, I have to be there. So it's a question of just organizing yourself. It's not an issue for me. It's not a balance. It's not a fight. They're not in conflict, so I don't have to worry about it. If I was not going to come, I would have not, asked to have this interview on this day. I would have probably put it on another day when I'm going to be free. So you have to organize yourself. You just have to organize yourself. Your organization of thought, organization of your time, and all that. My good friend Ghost Muley always says that I'm too organized for life. He says I'm too specific. When he comes to my room, he finds that I've got my notes for what I want to do and where they are and all that. And he says I'm just too organized. But what is the other option? You just have to get organized when you have all these things that you have to do. Yes. How did you know about my kids?
Are they following your footsteps?
One of my daughters was the national tennis champion. Another one was a swimming champion, and the boy plays football. Well, I don't know. I didn't swim that much, unless it was those doing para rows. We didn't do much swimming in our days. But he plays soccer. He wants to be a professional soccer player. But right now he has to go to school first. I have hobbies, and there's what I like doing. One of these days I'll invite you to my place. You can come. I have a banda at the corner there. In that banda there's everything there. There's a fridge stocked with all the nice things that you would want. There's a hot grill there. So I love to do. My family always say that when I tell them I want to make for you supper, I want to make for you something special, they say, oh, we know, it's just nyama choma, So I love to do that for them, okay? So that's what I like doing. But when I'm not working, I love traveling and discovering new places. I love traveling. I enjoy traveling a lot. It doesn't matter whether it's by air, by road. I enjoy road trips more because you get to stop, you get to meet the local people, you get to sample the local food, especially when you're out of the country, you see, you'll not meet the indigenous people in the city. You'll meet the indigenous people in the estates where they are. So you make one friend or two, and then you drive out and stop there and eat in there. This is something I didn't want to say, but you eat on the side of the road there, because that's where you get indigenous food. We normally don't like to eat in the hotel because they'll make for you international cuisine. But when you go to the estates, you get the real food, and it's real hot, and it's fresh because it's being made there and then. So when I'm not doing all these things, I love to travel and to drive, distances.
His story is one with bitter and sweet turns, but he won't have it any other way. He says that no one handed him the things he has achieved today, sending a message of hope that anything we put our minds to is achievable. This is Beyond the Surface, story of Bernard Otieno.